Good day, all. I'm going to speak about my view about some of the technology that we have today or that we're going to have. And if you've seen any of my other videos, anyways, you'll know I detest these new cars. Full of electronics that you don't need, and if you wonder why your new car is so expensive, that's one good reason, is that you're paying for all of this technology in your car. And I just want to point out too that, when things go wrong with a new car, it's going to cost you a fortune to get it fixed. So I've heard that within a few years, like, they're going to want to have driver monitoring, essentially, where there's going to be a camera that's basically watching your eyes, essentially. So I've done a lot of contracting, and I've got to say, how is the computer going to differentiate, like, if your eyes are bloodshot, how is this computer going to differentiate, the reasons that your eyes might be bloodshot? Like, the day that we have to sand all the drywall, my eyes get irritated. I'm quite sure by the time I climb in the truck at the end of the day that my eyes are bloodshot and red. Is the car just going to say, oh, well, you're overtired or you're impaired, and just not let me drive home, I guess? I don't know. And then, too, there's like, what if I have my sunglasses on? Is the car going to, say, well, you can't drive your car till you take your sunglasses off? I can't see your eyes. Like, how are they going to deal with these issues? And is it even any of their business, to take care of some of these things? It's another case of, idiot proofing things. And I heard as well that they might even put a sniffer or an alcohol sniffer in a car, and I'm not sure how you're going to pull that one off, because, what if, your passengers have been drinking, but the driver's sober? Is the car going to shut off because it can, it's reading a certain amount of alcohol and so many parts per million of alcohol in the air in the car when the driver's sober? Or, as I said, I do contracting. We work sometimes with a lot of nasty chemicals. Is the car going to be able, how is the car going to be able to differentiate between these chemicals, some of which are molecularly fairly close to alcohol? So, I just can't see them being able to put a sniffer in a car, because I just can't. The I just don't know how they would be able to, even with the level of technology we have today, be able to differentiate. You'd literally need a spectrometer in your car, which would cost a fortune, and you'd be paying for that too. You would literally need a spectrometer, or I believe that's what it's called, but when you basically incinerate a substance to get an accurate itemized count of the chemicals that are in something. So the other thing is these AI centers. Okay, first of all, they use a butt ton of water, but the real problem is the amount of energy that they use. Technology is supposed to make life better. Technology is supposed to, help the environment, but in the wrong hands, and this is not how it's being utilized. In fact, we're going backwards here. The environment is taking a huge hit, and these AI centers, they have, there's 10 or 20 natural gas turbines running, pumping CO2 into the atmosphere 24/7. What should happen is we have developed some smaller nuclear reactors, and I know a lot of people I'm actually quite interested in nuclear power. It's relatively a simple process, really. And sure, there have been some accidents in the past. We've really worked through a lot of that, and the odds of an accident are slim, very slim now. And some of the accidents that have happened are actually their operator error is basically what happened. But these AI centers should have to have a small nuclear reactor that they should have to pay for, and they shouldn't be allowed to hook up to the grid at all. They should be forced to be provide their own power and be self-sufficient. Okay, and then as far as the amount of water they use, I'm not sure really what we can do about that. But AI is a technology, like I said, that we don't need. It can make a better video. Whoop-de shit. It can make your editing a little bit easier. Well, great. If you're making videos or movies or you're a YouTuber, you're gonna have to do some editing. Okay, if you find it too labor intensive, then maybe you should do something else. But yeah, AI, like, we don't even need it. Um, these touch screens in the cars. Oh, I think I forgot to mention as well that, like, I'm 5'11", and the other thing about the technology in these cars is, like, that touch screen, a lot of them, they stick up over top of the dashboard by like a couple inches, some of them even more than that. And I think that's dangerous myself. I mean, I have had situations a couple different times where, and I have a fairly big pickup truck, and I've had one situation in particular where, there was a kid that, when I was looking left, snuck off the curb, and he's in front of the truck, and you can't even see him. And like, I never have anything on my dashboard. I've been driving for, well, damn near, 35 years now, and I have almost a spotless driving record. I have two little things on my driving record. One for 10 over coming into a hamlet, and one that I can blame on my mother because for some reason when the insurance was, when she'd get the new insurance tickets, she'd take a couple days before, she'd take the old ones out of the car, and I don't know why she used to do that, but I got pulled over and I didn't have my insurance ticket. But anyways, you just have to pay attention when you're driving. And like these touch screens, like I said, I'm 5'11", and I find like some of them are up and over top of the dashboard, and it's blocking off part of your view of the front of your car. That's why I never put anything. If you're ever in one of my vehicles, I never have anything on the dashboard because I want to see everything that I can see. Now, the other thing, of course, about these touchscreens is that there is absolutely no reason that there should be a touchscreen in a vehicle for a driver to utilize. I mean, it's so bizarre to me that this is kind of seems to be a missed issue that, you're not allowed to use your cell phone in the car. But when you use a touchscreen, you have to look at it. And I realize it may, you're only going to look at the dashboard for like a second. Well, guess what? That's exactly when accidents happen. I've had lots of instances where, even that second that I look away, and for some reason, that's when something happens. And how many times when you're driving your car, how many times are you looking over at that touchscreen? Like, I can't believe, statistically, I think you're going to find that accidents are going to increase big time, because how is it really any different than your cell phone? Like, okay, maybe you're not texting, you probably can't even text through your touchscreen, but every time you use that touchscreen, you're looking away from the road. Um, and then the other thing too is that, you know, the technology is going to keep track of, and all of the data is probably going to be interpreted as a, the car is going to keep an eye on your driving habits. It's not just going to monitor you physically. And the data that it collects is, I'm sure, going to be interpreted into basically a line graph, essentially like, um, how many times were the brakes applied at over 50%? How many times were the brakes applied at over 70%? How many times were the brakes applied at over 90%? But what, you could get a call from your insurance company and they might just say, well, last month you had 6 instances where you used over 90% capacity of your brakes. So we're going to put you in the, a questionable driving practices category and your insurance is going up. What isn't going to be taken into consideration is you know, why did you have to brake at over 90% on those occasions? Because even if you try to give the individual that called you an explanation, trust me, they're not going to give a rat's ass. And how many times have I had someone pull out in front of me and I've had to jam on the brakes? Or like pedestrians these days are just, they seem oblivious. I've had, within the last few years, several instances where there was one young girl walking to school, had her earbuds in, and she was not at an intersection, and she decided halfway down the block, thankfully for her, I'm a very attentive driver, and I saw her step off the curb, and I had to hit the brakes. And she just sauntered across the road, didn't even look. Didn't even look, guys. She had no idea I was even there. So good thing I wasn't, maybe changing something on my touchscreen during that particular instance in time, But like I said, or when you pull out to pass someone and you put your car down into second passing gear, you know, how is the data going to be interpreted, right? I'm sure it's just going to be a strike against the driver, a strike against the driver. And my point here is that this technology it's not going to help anything. It's just going to make it worse. And what business really does this technology even have in your car? Like, who, they're just going to say, well, what, we're keeping people safe? Okay. This is how, you take driver's ed, you learn how to drive, you learn the rules of the road. It's just incredible how we idiot proof things these days. Like, I wonder if they took, car manufacturers really should be forced to make a base model vehicle without fuel injection. Um, if you've seen any of my other videos, these new cars today are far less environmentally friendly than older vehicles, just based on the fact alone, the amount of plastic on these cars and the amount of stuff that's going into the landfill, even at the end of a new car's life. The amount of plastic in these new cars, like at least my old truck can just rot down into, iron oxide, and it's not bad for the environment. Like my old 83 Chevy is basically over 90% steel. These new cars are going to be in the junkyard for forever. I mean, they're almost all plastic. But yeah, you're also paying I would have to guess that all of the technology in your car is probably adding at least $10,000 to the cost of your vehicle. And it's a bunch of stuff you don't even need. So, yeah, I don't know how any of us are going to maybe be able to maybe rectify any of these issues that we're having today, but like these touch screens, there should not be a touch screen for a driver in a car. It's not safe, it's not necessary, it's absolutely ridiculous. This vehicle monitoring that they're going to put into vehicles, like how is that going to really, in the end, benefit anybody? Like the sunglasses thing alone, I think, like how is, the car's trying to monitor your eyes and your car won't start. is like, how are they gonna? Oh, are you know they're gonna have to put, excuse me, some default programming into the vehicle so that when you have your sunglasses on, that the car will just let you still go anyways. Well, then you'll just wear your sunglasses if you're impaired. Then, right? You'll just put your sunglasses on and off you go anyways. Like, it's just ridiculous, guys. Best of luck to everyone, but if anybody has any ideas, and like these AI centers, it's another situation of, I think we're just moving too fast, too quick. Haste makes waste. Like electric vehicles, there's all kinds of issues that are popping up because we just pushed these electric vehicles, and I'm sorry, but the infrastructure isn't there. Um, Electric vehicles, they're the technology just isn't quite there yet, and you would essentially need charging stations like we have gas stations. You would need, and how is a person in New York in a row house? How are they gonna, like, if you have an electric car, you basically need a charger at home, and there are a lot of people that just, they don't have the infrastructure, or you can't have charging cables going out across the sidewalk and stuff. What do you do in a big apartment building? Like, you'd almost have to have half of the parking garage would have to have individual chargers, because you can't have only so many chargers and people competing for these chargers. It would just be an effing mess. So yeah, technology is not being utilized properly, and if anything, I think it's detracting from life today. Um, yeah, uh, I just can't believe them burning all those natural gas. These are huge turbines they're burning at these AI centers, and it just shouldn't be allowed at all. Like, and they shouldn't even be allowed to be hooked up to the grid. And people's electric bills are some people's electric bills have gotten really insane. And you tell me why that AI company shouldn't be paying the difference? Like, it's almost getting, some of the things that happen in life now are almost getting criminal, honestly. Um, Best of luck to everyone. Anybody who has any ideas. I mean, I just see things going to pot in the world. Just the things that I think, being born in 73, the changes that I've seen are really hard to digest. Um, Not the least of which is, like, the cost of living has just friggin' exploded. I mean, I feel for people. I feel for people so, so much. I have a capitalist buddy who says, well, he has absolutely no sympathy for a minimum wage worker. And I had to remind him that, okay, first of all, not everybody is intelligent enough to, um, improve themselves and get a higher paying job. And if that's the case, that doesn't mean that that person should have a shit quality of life just because they weren't born a rocket scientist. Do you know what I mean? And the other thing is that, like, I was very disappointed that, um, I couldn't afford to send my kids to university, to school. I really thought maybe I would be able to afford to do that. And I think if you have kids, it's almost an obligation. You almost have to, if you can't afford to send your kid to get an education, even though I know education, that's a whole nother topic these days. I'm not that big on education myself. Um, but yeah, I couldn't afford to send my kids to school, and that really broke my heart. But the other thing about these minimum wage jobs is that we still need these positions filled. Okay, so if you don't have sympathy for a minimum wage worker, I guess that's your position, you know. But we still need these positions filled, and these people are out working for next to nothing. And I'm not sure what we're going to do in society today to rectify this, because you can't just jack minimum wage up, because then all of these big corporations just jack the prices up, because heaven forbid they make a little bit less money than last year. Like, it's effing crazy. And essentially all of this, the technology, everything that's going on is greed. That's all it is. It's just greed. And I'm very lucky in the sense that I don't, I've never been a jealous person. Like, I couldn't care if the Joneses have millions of dollars. Like, I'm just happy if I can come home, have something good to eat, and pay my bills, and not, overly have to worry about money. I'm good with that. Okay. Um, but people shouldn't have to have an extremely poor quality of life. You know, I mean, greed is just the thing that's really, really killing the world. So if you're, my aunt and uncle that I won't name, all they cared about was their bank account, how much money they had in their bank account. And I don't understand people that just love money, because we're all going to go for the same dirt nap, and a lot of these people, like, you die with millions of dollars in the bank, and what has it done for you? You know? So, I don't understand it. And yet these people, because they covet money so much, um, when I was going through my divorce, I had nothing. I had nothing. Um, and I remember asking one of my aunts if I could have a few armfuls of firewood, because I was almost out of firewood at the time and I had no other source of heat, and she wouldn't even let me have a couple arms of firewood. Like, what are we doing, people? What are we doing? Okay? So, yeah, don't, you can't help anyone out. Heaven forbid your bank account goes down at all, if someone needs help, well, too bad, you should have helped yourself. Well, people can't always help themselves. And anyways, I'm getting a little bit onto a tangent here, but yeah, technology, guys. I just I don't agree with a lot of what's going on. We'll see what happens, but I hope that we could maybe start fighting back against a bunch of this stuff somehow without, like, you know uh, being called a group of conspiracy theorists or something, because that's what would happen is if we started a movement. We'd be or not victimized, but do you know what I mean? We'd be, there's always a group of people that are gonna point the finger. And yeah, anyways, guys, good luck to all. Have a great day.